Here's that DC council member who suggested that the military should respond to this crime wave.
I know those who live here know that we are clearly in a war zone. I'm gonna say it again. We are clearly in a war zone.
Good day, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Reaching Father podcast. I'm your host, Osa, and that was 2023 when Ward 8 Councilman Trayon White called for the National Guard in DC and also referred to DC as a war zone. We're going to get into that. Trust me, there's a whole lot to cover today, but I just want to welcome everybody. I know it's been a while since you've probably seen me, so I just want to get back in touch with you guys. Hope everybody is doing well. I hope you're living blessed. I hope you're grateful, and I hope things continue to get better for you. As for me, life has been life, and I know it's been a while, and you're like, yo, what you been up to? One cool, awesome thing that happened, though, is that I did write a book. It's called You Suck at Communication. You can get it on Amazon just by searching Osa the Healer. And also you can get it from my website, osathehealer.com. I'm really proud of it because it speaks to communication in relationships. And that is what I think is one of the biggest things in the way of communities and societies is the relationships that we have with each other and how we communicate in those relationships. So that's why I wrote the book. Other than that, man, fatherhood has been fathering, I tell you that. Now, let's get into the main topic, the meat and potatoes. What has it been like under this tyranny in DC that the president has instituted where the National Guard is overseeing some of the streets of DC? Now, first and foremost, let's not get it twisted. The National Guard is not everywhere. They're not on every block. They're not checkpoints everywhere. Me personally, I haven't seen them very much at all, to be honest with you. I live in Southeast DC in the historic Anacostia neighborhood where Frederick Douglass lived. And I don't see them. I definitely don't see them on a daily basis. When I drop my kids off at school, from here to the school and back, I don't see them. When I go to the grocery store in the area, I don't see them. I just so happen to see them in Eastern Market. I haven't seen any tanks. Someone said something about a tank. I don't know. But it's not like everywhere, at least on my side of town. I go to and from to my normal places. It's quiet. All right. That's really what it is. I could just end the video there. What's it like under the tyranny? It's quiet. It's peaceful. There's tranquility. My neighbor actually finished my sentence for me. And he asked me how I was doing. I said, you know what? I'm enjoying this. And I couldn't find the words. I was like, ah. He was like, tranquility. I was like, yeah, tranquility. Many of my neighbors are enjoying the tranquility, particularly the elderly. It's quiet around these parts. You know, I'm outside. I'm usually outside with the regulars. I'll be outside. The regulars aren't outside anymore. And now you see the old ladies outside during the day. Now they're the ones posted up outside, which is great. I love to see it. A lot of people can easily dismiss that. Like, yeah, well, that's nice, but there's a bigger plan at play. All right, well, hold your horses. Slow down there, buddy. What about the mental health aspects of peace and tranquility? The people of this side of town, Anacostia, Southeast DC, the people on this side of town, in my opinion, deserve some peace and quiet. I've been to dozens and dozens of community meetings. All of them have a section, a long section for more security, increased police presence. I've heard this over and over and over and over again for years and years and years. So for people to be able to finally say that they're experiencing peace and quiet, That's not something I'm ready to dismiss as quickly as a lot of people. Again, I'm particularly thinking about the elders. I mean, imagine some of these elders who are in their, twilight years. Some of them only have a couple years left to live, a couple months, weeks, and so on and so forth. For them to be able to say that they got to experience peace and quiet on this side of town where they live, even if it's only for 30 days, even if it's only from now until December, is that not significant? To me, it is. To me, it's very, very, very significant. Quality of life is very, very important. That's why the irony of people protesting what's going on right now, it just blows my mind. It blows my mind that people are protesting. Sure, are things uncomfortable? Yeah. Is this what is desirable? Not really. However, when the city that you're living in or the area that you're living in is a war zone, then things have to be done. And on this side of town, not that many people care about who decided to do something about it. And those of us who are privileged, I'm not in that group, but those of us who are privileged to be able to protest what's going on. I mean, let me just reemphasize that again. You're privileged. You live in a privileged life. If you either you're really privileged or you're just disingenuous and you're a liar and you're dishonest. But most of the people protesting are just privileged. Anyone who says that there isn't a crime problem in DC, like you must live a privileged life. Like you must get your groceries delivered to you, and like maybe you take a Uber everywhere, and like you don't get on the metro, you don't go to the gas station. Who is not seeing how crime ridden the city is? I don't know. I don't really know. However, what I do know is that when people are talking to me about their little conspiracy theories about what they think is going on, the reason why it doesn't resonate with me is because I'm more concerned about victims of crime than the criminals. I know in this area, maybe other cities as well, there's a lot of compassion for criminals and perpetuators of crime, and people want to be on their side and pat them on the back. And I don't know what people think that they're doing, because you can still get robbed. I don't think they care about you that much, but that's neither here nor there. So when people are talking to me about whatever they think else is going on other than the stoppage of crime, I want to show you what goes on in my head, what I'm thinking about in my head. So here we have the gun memorial. These are the fatal shooting victims in the District of Columbia. Real people, not just statistics. Y'all be worried about them stats. But this is what I see. I don't know if you noticed the trend of the faces of the victims here, but I'll give you a second to let it marinate. Uh, when y'all be talking about conspiracy theories and Project 2025, this is what is going on in my head. This is what's cycling through my head. When y'all are making excuses as to why people are killing other people, when you're saying that just because you're poor, it means you don't have any damn sense, and you don't know right from wrong just because you ain't got a couple dollars in your pocket. I don't know those poor people. I don't know those poor people that just because they ain't got a couple dollars in their pocket, that they don't know that they probably shouldn't be going around killing people. I'm not as fortunate as you guys. And look at it, this list. We're still in 2025. All right. We're still in 2025, 17. Look at these. A lot of black men be dying from homicide. As a matter of fact, many of you probably don't know this, but homicide is the leading cause of death for black men between the ages of 18 and 35. Unless it's changed recently, but it's the leading cause of death. And so when you guys talk about, the conspiracy theories and stuff that really doesn't really have a lot of basis to it, and you guys think that you're putting me on or trying to educate me, let me just say this. Um, you're not educating me, because if you were really woke, you would have seen this coming. The National Guard being in the city. See, if you was really woke, you would have seen this coming a mile away. I saw this coming a mile away. Like seeing it a mile away, if we can make 1 mile equal to 1 year, then I saw this coming 10 miles away. So forgive me if when you talking to me about this stuff, I seem like I don't care. It's not that I don't care about your conspiracy theory. It's that I've had to sit around for the past 10 years and watch this unfold while you were living your privileged life, not really concerned about the murders and on all those things, which is fine. I'm not knocking nobody for that. It's just that I've been concerned way longer than you've even been thinking about it. A lot of you guys didn't even start thinking about it till the president called in the National Guard. Then you started to think about it. And I don't say these things just to make me feel good. I promise you I don't. I promise you this don't make me feel good. I promise you I don't want to be a smarty-arty like some of you guys out there. I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart, but I do pay attention. And I've been paying attention for at least the past 10 years. And if you don't believe me, well, then let's really talk about it. Let's really talk about it. Okay. Now, I'm going to get into some history real quick, some personal history, but then just also DC history. A lot of this is public information. But for those of y'all that don't know, I was back in 2013, I was involved in a nonviolence or a violence intervention program or anti-violence movement, however you want to call it, called the 300 Men March. It was in Baltimore. And this was started in about 2013. And then by almost 2015, like 2014, we had really made some really good strides. I mean, this is one of the most powerful things that I've ever done in my life, one of the most powerful organizations, one of the most powerful movements that I've ever seen, period, in my entire lifetime. The way we were able to impact lives, impact communities, and most importantly, impact some of the violence, and especially when we concentrated our efforts. I thought that this was such a phenomenal thing. It brought men together in the community, and it also brought women together in the community, which I thought was what was needed everywhere. And me living in DC at the time, I wanted to bring it to DC. I spent some time trying to float the idea to like some people in the community and some people, from the city. And I said, yeah, this thing is happening in Baltimore. I'm a part of it. If you wanted to get it popping here in DC, I will bring everything that I know. Because it was a formal program. We had trainings, we had protocols, we had some structure by this time. We've been doing this for, over a year now. Didn't really get a lot of traction from anybody that I knew. But I really wanted this to happen. I really wanted to bring it to DC. So what did I do? I went political, which I knew nothing about at the time. But, that's what people be saying. Well, you want to change politics. And blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I started because I had moved from Ward 8 to Ward 5 at the time. So I reached out to the Ward 5 councilman, Kenyon McDuffie. And shout out to Kenyon McDuffie. I sent him a message on Facebook. His people responded back to me. And this was February 2015 at this point. His people responded back to me. I told them what we had going on in Baltimore. I was able to connect Kenyon McDuffie with then Councilman Brandon Scott, who's now the mayor. And they held a roundtable. I think that happened in April of 2015. They were able to make that connection. Kenyon McDuffie got right to work. And by September of 2015, Kenyon McDuffie introduced the NEAR Act, the Neighborhood Engagement Achieves Results Act, which was the foundation for a lot of the modern day violence intervention programs and support services that we have in DC today. So that was introduced in September of 2015. It was passed in March of 2016, and then it was fully funded in October of 2017 for the 2018 fiscal year. Now, a lot of people died in that time. There's a lot of murders that happened in that time. However, it got done. And shout out to Kenyon McDuffie. Also, I failed to mention, in that time, I also did try to reach out to Trayon White because as I mentioned, I lived in Ward 8 before, and I live in Ward 8 now. So I definitely reached out to Trayon, tried to let him know what was going on. We weren't able to really kind of connect the way that I wanted to because, it was a lot going on, and he was very busy, understandably so. Okay, so fast forward to 2023, and Trayon White calls for the National Guard to come out. Now, why would that be the case? Well, let's look at some of the data that was out at the time. So here is the crime data at a glance from the Metropolitan Police Department. I'm just going to go down to the murders in particular. And as we know, as some of you may or may not have heard, some of the more recent numbers have been fudged, and there's somebody who's been accused of fudging the numbers. So the accuracy of this data is in question. It's particularly the later data that suggests that things have been going down. Now, 2023, there were 274 homicides. Of the past 20 years, that's the highest in 20 years. Now, see, people try to throw a trick bag at everybody, and they're like, well, the crime is the lowest in 30 years. 30 years ago would have been 1995. 1995 was the peak of the crack epidemic, the crack era. To me, that is not an acceptable bar, the crack epidemic. So again, going back through my timeline, let's go back a little bit further, right? 2012, it was down to under 100 murders. 2013, there was 104, but that would have been 90 something had you not included the 12 victims. There was a shooting at the Navy Yard, right? Someone went postal. So that would have been under 100. Then 2014, we're at 105. 2015, 162. Big jump. 2016, 135. 2017, 116. So now we're just consistently over 100. 2018, it jumps to 160. 2019, 166. 2020, 198. 2021, 226. 2022, 203. 2023, 274 murders. Homicides. And so it makes sense that Trayon White councilman for Ward 8 was concerned with this number. I mean, I was. I started back here. I started back here for real, back here. But yeah, you know, it's unfortunate that those numbers were so high. I mean, who wants to see that? And anyway, so as things were progressing, murders were getting worse. When you mix those numbers in, you can say that things were going up and down. But if you just look at murders, because you can't come back from murder, property can be recovered. If a car jacking, you get jacked for your car, you can do something about the car. You replace the car. But those lives, those people aren't coming back. Those people that we saw in the gun memorial, and we only went through 2025. So those people aren't coming back. The people from 2024 are not coming back, 23, 22, 21, so on and so forth. And a lot of those murders haven't even been solved. Let's throw that in there. And so now we have the NEAR Act has been passed. There's the different departments and programs have been set up, because this is what people have been saying. Well, we need programs and things like that. So these programs have been set up now. With this passed in 2016, 2017, let's say 2018, right? For it was fully funded. The NEAR Act was fully funded in 2018. So let's say 2018, these programs have been around. 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. So 6 years worth of programs. And we have said over and over again, we need programs. Now, mind you, Washington, D.C. is fortunate. It's not like many other places, because there's a lot of money here in Washington, D.C. There are a lot of programs here in Washington, D.C. There are a lot of things for the youth to do. There are a lot of rec centers. There are a lot of libraries. Matter of fact, I think almost all the libraries in the city have been refurbished in the past decade. I saw the director of departments and recreation last summer at an event, and she said that there is plenty of stuff for the youth to do, which I know too that there is, because I'm a parent. So I got children in programs in DC. There's a summer youth employment program. There's sports at the rec centers. So all that stuff is available. Now, how have they been effectively? I don't know. There's no evidence to show that they've been effective, particularly at the thing that I care about the most, which is the violence, is stopping the violence. Because the thing is, you can have programs all you want, but if the children get shot on the way to the program, right? And I'm thinking about Lil Davon, the football player, young football player. I think he was like maybe 12 years old. He was killed on July 4th, 2020. And we had a protest. Shout out to DJ Dirty Rico. He came out to this neighborhood because it happened in this neighborhood. He came out, I'm not really for protesting and all that, but if we gonna protest something, let's protest the killers and murderers and stuff like that of children. I'm for it. Okay, so here is a program called Cure the Streets, which is a public safety program launched by the Office of Attorney General aimed at reducing gun violence. All right, so it operates in discrete high violence neighborhoods. Discrete and high violence sounds like an oxymoron, but anyway, using data-driven public health approach to gun violence by treating it as a disease that can be interrupted, treated, and stopped from spreading. Well, if we were going to be treating gun violence as a disease, then we should have called this another pandemic. That's okay. I'm just reading here. The goal of Cure the Streets is to reduce the frequency of shootings and gun homicides within the target areas. Okay, so Bear in mind that these numbers are very small because they're in specific areas. I don't even think they're whole neighborhoods. They're probably like streets, stuff like that. ADW is assault with a deadly weapon. Assault with a deadly weapon. So these are just assault with deadly weapon offenses. And you've got different neighborhoods here. You got Trinidad. You got Eckington, Bellevue, Washington Highlands, Congress Heights, Historic Anacostia. That's where I live at. Red means it went up and green means it went down. So as you can see, there's just a lot of red. And you've got some crazy numbers. Like right here, Bellevue, I mean, 800%. 300% increase is nuts as far as assaults with deadly weapons. You've got Washington Highlands in 2023, 133%. I mean, and these are sites launched after 2019, 2018, and a good amount were launched in 2022. But the homicides really is the meat and potatoes because that's what this is aimed at. So from 2017 to 2018, my neighborhood, Historic Anacostia, Jesus, homicides went up 500%. The neighboring neighborhood, Congress Heights, 200% increase. 2019, again, this is before the program. So, all right. The program launched in May of 2022. So let's see, from 20 in Anacostia, we're looking bad. This is Search Quarter went up from 21 to 22. They went up 200% in that particular part of the neighborhood. Anacostia went up 40% from 21 to 22. Then from 22 to 23, it went up another 29%. Search Quarter didn't go anywhere. Congress Heights seemed to have gone down 20%. But overall, right, and I don't want to keep going. I love numbers and stats, but I'm not going to bore you with all of this stuff. Again, a lot of red. So year over year, you've got 31%. This is just for this program, Cure the Street, 31% increase, 62% increase, 21% decrease, 37% increase, 0%, 5%. Okay. And then these 2024 numbers, we know that they were at least these numbers were fudged according to the accusations from whoever was in charge of producing these stats. So at the very least, there's not enough evidence to say that the programs work, right? At the very least, there's just not enough evidence to say that programs work. At the most skeptical, you can say that the programs don't even work. You can say that because there's data, and a lot of the data is red. So not just that one program, but I'm pretty sure it's consistent across the other programs because the murders kept going up in the city. Everybody knows that. The carjackings were through the roof. You don't really have to know the stats. I just share the stats with people just because there's people who don't live here, but I live here. I don't need stats, really. I don't need stats to know that there's a lot of Black people getting shot and they're dying. I don't need stats to know that people's cars are being stolen left and right. People are getting carjacked all over the city. It's not just Southeast. A lot of people think it's just Southeast. They get busy uptown too. It can go down anywhere in the city. There's very few places where it don't go down. But a lot of it is concentrated in Southeast and the like. And so what's even more heartbreaking than the number of people dying and the fact that the programs aren't working is that, well, let me just play the video.
There are new developments in the independent investigation into D.C. Councilmember Trayon White this morning. He's charged for taking bribes and kickbacks. The D.C. Council's ad hoc committee has released its report. News 4's Joseph Omo has been combing through that report. He joins us live from outside the Wilson building with the latest details. Good morning, Joseph.
Hey, Tony, good morning. You know, the spotlight is once again on Councilmember Trayon White. Remember, he is accused of accepting $156,000, over $30,000 of that in direct cash payments in exchange for extending city contracts with companies that he is close with. Well, now the law firm that's investigating him says there is substantial evidence to support that. Remember, the D.C. Council, they ordered an investigation into their colleague after he was arrested and charged earlier this year for bribery. Well, now that the investigation is complete, the council is going to meet this upcoming Monday to decide what's next, if they're going to take any action against White in response to these allegations that he accepted money from companies doing business in D.C. Now, we haven't heard much from the council member during this entire process. He has not commented yet on the fact that a law firm now says that there's substantial evidence against him. But here's what he did say just last month.
I am entitled to a due process like everyone else. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. As a citizen, I would expect the council to give me the same, and the people of Ward 8, the same justice that we allow the federal government to give us. And that's just the vote of the people. 20,000 people voted for me to be the council member last week of the ward in Ward 8.
Oh, and let me share this, because they said there's substantial evidence and he got kickbacks from contracts. He was expecting kickback from contracts. Here's what's really more important. The types of contracts that he was trying to get kickbacks from were contracts for nonviolence programs in Washington, D.C. It wasn't real estate contracts, you know, those victimless crimes and stuff like that. Violence interruption programs. So I'm sure you can imagine, as I explained the history of, and I do feel like I was helpful, might even say instrumental in getting these programs going. So you can imagine how I feel to hear that the councilman from my ward was taking money from those programs. If it was anything else, to be honest with you, probably wouldn't bother me that much. The fact that it's these same programs designed to support the community and the victims of violence and the families of violence and the perpetuators of violence, it hits different than it does for most people. Most people don't really care that much because they think that, it's just city contracts, especially when you just present it like city contracts. And I've seen the substantial evidence. I've read the affidavit. It is so bad. However, the reason why I'm emphasizing that is to point out the idea that maybe he believes that the programs don't really work either. Maybe he believes that they don't work. And he's just kind of like, well, clearly he's willing to support the National Guard coming in because, I got to agree. Maybe the programs don't work. I don't think that they work like people think that they're supposed to work. So call in the National Guard. See, if you were me, if you were paying attention like me, you would have seen this coming. I saw it coming. I don't need to read Project 2025. I saw this coming in 2015, buddy. And here we are. The National Guard has been here for, has it been a couple of weeks? I guess it has been a couple of weeks. And the mayor spoke on the results.
We greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
Yeah, shout out to Mayor Bowser for admitting that. I know it was a tough pill for her to swallow, and she swallowed it, and she gave credit for the effort that is underway. Her city is safer. Everybody notices it. I mean, everybody. And I just think that, you know, for now, it's a good thing. Now, whenever they decide, I believe that they're extending it. They're extending the National Guard presence until December, which I am okay with, especially because I don't see them that much. And even when I do see them, it doesn't quite bother me. I'm not a criminal. You know, I got some speeding tickets I definitely need to pay off. For real, for real. I do need to pay them off. I'm not gonna lie. However, I'm not riding around with unregistered firearms, and like, I'm not killing anybody. I don't have warrants that I know of. And so I don't have to live in fear. I don't ever feel like I have to live in fear. Most people, I mean, even in the hood, most people like go to work and like take care of their kids and their families and stuff like that. I don't see a bunch of people being accosted, and this would, quote unquote, be one of those areas that are over policed. But the people here have been talking about not enough police. So I'm glad that we're able to get a sense of peace and tranquility. And even if it's temporary, the quality of life is much better for all of us, especially those of us raising children. It takes a lot of stress off of us, even if we haven't noticed it yet, even if we haven't felt it yet. The stress load of worrying less about the crime in your community, it makes it better for the neighbors here. And it makes it uncomfortable for the criminals, as it should. So let me know what your experience is. If you're in DC, or if you've traveled to DC, or have you noticed it? Do you think that this is healthy for the community? Do you think that it's not healthy for the community? I'm genuinely interested. Yeah, drop a comment. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about it. All right. This is Osa the Healer signing off. Peace.
Man, honestly, I ain't gonna fake like I got all the answers, because if I did, the world would be in a better place. You know, I know one thing, though, is that I know a lot more than when I started this journey. And most of what I know about fatherhood is organic, it's instinctual. You know, and I believe some of it's from the outside, but a lot of it comes from within.